In this video, we're going to move on to the next step, which is building the instructional sequence as part of effective lesson planning. So to recap, the first step, we aligned the standards, we chose the standard, and then we matched the objective to the standard, and then we matched the assessment to the objective. So we've done that already. We have a standard, we have an objective, and we have an assessment. Now we're going to create the learning sequence, and the learning sequence usually has these elements. There's an anticipatory set, a moment when we review previous content, we present the new content or model it, provide guided feedback, and then guided practice and feedback, and then independent practice. So let's go through each one of those so you can see what that looks like. So the anticipatory set gets the learners hooked on the lesson, and it gives any needed background knowledge. So for example, in our lesson about character traits in Charlotte's Web, I might start by getting them hooked on the lesson by asking them to think about what their own character traits are. How would somebody else describe you? So this way I'm giving them the needed background knowledge about character traits and what that word means. So I might go over what that word means. And again, I might do something that's a little bit fun, like how would your friends describe you? Or how would you describe yourself? What are your own character traits? And then I would review. I'd briefly review the previous learning and explain how this lesson builds on the previous learning. So I might say something like, previously we just read chapter 1 in Charlotte's Web, and we got introduced to a number of characters. Who can tell me who the characters were that we were introduced to in chapter 1? And then I might say, well, in this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to build on that, and we're going to look at one of the characters in particular, and we're going to think about the character's, Fern, her character traits. And then the modeling, we're going to present the new content. So today we will learn about how to identify character traits from the text and using evidence in the text. Or I might say today I'll teach you to identify character traits, and then I'm going to model what the students are able to do by the end of the lesson. So I might choose a different character. I'm not going to choose Fern because we're going to have them work with Fern. So I might choose one of the other characters and model for them how I can identify the character traits of that other character. And then I'll move into guided practice, where I might have the kids partner up and say, okay, now let's choose a third character. Again, I'm not going to use Fern because they're going to do that at the end of the lesson. Let's choose a third character and practice. So with your partner, practice identifying 3 character traits of this other character. And then I'm going to go around to all the different partners. Let's say I have 12 different partners, or maybe I'm going to do it in groups of 3, and then I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to give them feedback. I'm going to look at what they've done so far, and I'm going to let them know what they're doing well, where they're on track, and what they might need to work on before we move to the independent practice. Then the final part of my lesson is going to be the independent practice. And now I'm going to say, okay, students, now here, get out your book, read through chapter 1 again, and identify 3 character traits of Fern and write them in your writer's notebook. And when you're done with that, you can go ahead and get out your independent reading book. So again, the independent practice is when they do it on their own, and that's going to be the same as my assessment. So I can use what they wrote in their journals now as my assessment for my lesson. And that's it. That's the learning sequence. And now we're done with our lesson plan.